Federal Reserve cuts discount rate to ease credit worries. Prices for key foods are rising sharply. Heavy losses sweep the world markets. Those and many more are just a sample of the headlines available at my website, alexansary.com. Nick is on the line. He is a financial expert. I actually found him on YouTube explaining with these intricate computer simulations and models exactly what is happening with Wall Street. It's an area that's a little bit above my own expertise, so I thought I would bring in an outsider to talk about from InTheStocks.com his perception on what is happening in the U.S. economy today. Nick, how are you?
Very good, Alex. Glad to be here. It's InTheMoneyStocks.com. And we formed this company earlier this year basically to give the small investor a chance, because as you see what's going on out there, many people were looking at these headlines saying Dow 14,000, and they had no idea what was about to come. And as you've seen, a big pullback in the market lately.
Okay, what exactly is happening from your perspective? Some people are saying it's the subprime mortgage sector. Some people are saying that there's an influence of China happening here, which I believe there is, maybe not directly with this particular event, but I think there are a lot of complicated things here that most Americans do not understand.
I'm sure it's a combination of all of those, and you also have some complacency in the market, where people were just sitting back and believing that everything was okay, and they were just borrowing money, and the Federal Reserve was just lending out money. I mean, this is orchestrated going back some time now. If you notice, about 4 or 5 years ago, the bankruptcy laws were changed as well. So, I mean, they had to know. These are smarter people than I am, and they had to see this coming. You have a crisis. It's not just subprime. It's also prime. It's also these collateralized debt obligations, that these derivative products that were created. No one can understand them. No one can weigh the risk that's involved. It's very complex, and it's very deep. So as you see the market beginning to show a little bit of panic. That's usually the first line, the first sign. I think you're going to see some, the Fed cut the discount rate last Friday, right before options expiration. So many of the small investors who were trying to buy puts on the market, which essentially is betting on the market going down, got their head handed to them on that Friday and had to cover. As you see, we had a big rally, almost a 250-point up day that day. So, my company, we basically like to alert the investor and also educate them on how to read the technical analysis, because no one can figure out what they're talking about in this Wall Street gibberish.
I am familiar with the article that you just mentioned, or the latest report. Well, here's one. U.S. blue chips rise as global indexes rebound. U.S. blue chip stocks rose on Monday after reversing direction in the last hour of trade as the flight to safety in the short-term Treasury bills flagged, suggesting concerns over the stability of credit markets were receding. I think it might be a little bit early to make that assumption, but we will see before this is over. I'm curious, though, Nick, how sometimes in the mainstream media, how they forget to mention the value of the actual U.S. dollar, the greenback, as opposed to just simply the value of stocks. What is your perspective on the U.S. dollar and its future?
It doesn't look good for the U.S. dollar. Right now, our country is being financed by basically China and the rest of Asia. If you look at the dollar pulled back tremendously this week after trying to make a little bit of a surge. If you look on my website, we have some charts of the U.S. dollar. We go over it briefly. But the dollar's steadily been declining for the last, 5, 6 years. I mean, go to Europe. Go outside this nation and try to buy something. Go to Europe now and see what you get for your money. All the oil in the world is traded in U.S. dollars. And there is a problem now. You're seeing oil consistently, $70, $80 a barrel. Gasoline at the pump continually rising. I understand when the government puts out these reports, they exclude food and energy. But in reality, what else is there but food and energy? So the outlook for the U.S. dollar in the next 3 to 5 years is not very good. It's very grim.
Now, on your website, InTheStocks.com, you're not obviously going to be one of those people, I wouldn't think, that's going to be telling people to pull out of the stock market completely. I think you have some optimistic views of the stock market. So what are you suggesting for some of those regular readers of yours?
Absolutely not. We don't say pull out of the stock market. The market, we trade both sides of the market. As traders, we are neither bull nor bear. If we see the market, we follow the money flow. If we see the market about to make a move down, as we did about a month ago, we were alerting our subscribers, guys, look, let's get short this market, let's play it to the downside, and we all made a lot of money. Now we have an interim buy signal, but I'm just telling investors right now, we had a nice little move up this week. This stimulus is almost out of it. The financial stocks did not behave well yesterday, while the market was up about 140 points on the Dow. 142.99 to be exact. But look at Countrywide Financial. Look at Citibank. These companies have big liabilities on their hands, and I believe that they're in a lot more trouble than is being let on into the public.
On the other side of the coin, Nick, for those that may be a little too wrapped up in the stock market, what would you suggest for those looking to diversify their portfolio into some form of a hard currency?
Right now, I believe that most people should be basically in cash, trading very lightly. Foreign assets is probably a better play than American assets at this time. But I believe even that you may have to be very careful because this is a global economy now. You've been hearing that story for quite a long time. Many of these markets are very extended. Gold is up extremely. Gold has outpaced the Dow. Gold is up 300% since basically 2003. So, if that's not telling us something, I don't know what is. After this pullback, I believe gold might fall a little more, but you may want to get a hold and buy some gold. If you see gold dipping here, it's something good to have. It is a solid currency. Gold, silver, platinum, palladium, any of the precious metals. But at this point, I don't like really anything in the market except being in cash. Even money markets are not even safe these days.
Nick, do you think there's a moral argument or a moral question here in terms of how much Americans are investing in foreign interests, in terms of just national sovereignty and national pride? Do you think that's a factor that's going to increase in the years to come? I think it already actually is here.
It's here. You can see it. If you look at people's 401ks, they're probably heavily weighted in international already. Look at our U.S. car market. No one buys American cars anymore. Everybody buys, foreign cars. Japanese cars are kicking the butts of the American cars, and frankly, they make a better product. This country is very leveraged. We have a huge trade gap deficit with China. And it just seems, I don't know, this country's in some trouble here. I'm not saying it's the end of the world by any means. This is not Armageddon. This country's been able to bail itself out of a lot. In '87, we bailed ourselves out of leverage buyouts, junk bonds, and, these bank loans, savings and loan scandals that were going on. So history has a tendency to repeat itself. That's why my company, InTheMoneyStocks.com, we follow charts. And we get to see what the markets are doing firsthand by following the money flow. And what the money flow is following where the big money, because believe me, they're one step ahead of the curve.
There have been some allegations out there about an engineered collapse and talks of an Amero. Have you heard anything about the Amero? And if so, do you have an opinion on it?
I have heard about it. As a trader, I try not to get too caught up in the conspiracy theory. Although I do find it very possible. This is beginning to look more and more like we could come to a world with probably three currencies: an Asian currency, a currency of the Americas, and a euro. I mean, it's beginning to look like that. If you look at, I don't want to get too deep into it, but if you look at the Iraq War, and what was really the war fought over? I believe it was fought over, Saddam Hussein selling oil for euros and not selling his oil for U.S. dollars and British pounds. And if you look at the British pound, they're still not part of the euro. So England is still separated. And all the oil in the world is traded in U.S. dollars, and I'm sure that this has something to do with it.
Very interesting indeed. Nick, thank you for joining me. Your website, InTheStocks.com. Any information for anyone listening on your website and how it may interest any of the listeners?
Yes, it's InTheMoneyStocks.com, and it's basically for traders. Give it a shot. Believe me, you'll be a much more educated investor after you've looked at it.
Thank you, Nick, for joining me, and you were a great guest. I'd like to bring you back on in case we have another big crisis that we have to cover with the Wall Street situation.
Very good. Glad to be here, Alex. Thank you very much. Have a great one.
Thank you, Nick. And for the rest of you, give me a call, 888-202-1984.